Hello, everyone. I'm a racing driver. My name is Keiko Ihara. I usually drive 330K on a public street. And the public street that we usually drive 60K, but I'm in a motor race, 300K. The next thing that is most important to my life is this helmet, which costs 1.5 million yen. It's a very expensive helmet. So first of all, until last year, 3 years in a row, I drove in the Le Mans 24 endurance race, which is the highest race in the motor race competition. As you can see all the macho guys all lined up. And in this picture, I was the only female driver. Why I was the only female driver? The reason, because there's no gender distinction between male and female, and there's no gender distinction. Looks like we're just driving a car, but you need an enormous, extraordinary stamina. You look like you're just driving a car, but when you spin or you drive the corner, there's 5 times 5 gravity is pressured, which is like you're pressured with 300 kilograms of pressure by the sumo wrestler. So you have to really hold it, all the 300K, so your pulse goes more than 170. It's like a marathon race. It's 170, but we're a motor car racer, and 170 to 210 heartbeat. So I've been driving in the male-dominant race competition. How did I get to the peak? Why? Because so many people supported me, and because I leveraged my emotion as a weapon to the victory. Before, this is my job before, and I had this shape of swimsuit. And after, look at me now, after. But, I'm driving a car and getting a wind of 300K. A lot of wrinkles comes along with that. So I'm after the 300K winds blown. So in that, when I was in college, I was in the mogul ski, and in order to save money to go to the training camp, I started my part-time job as a fashion model. I was not confident myself. I never accomplished anything. Sports, academic, I have achieved nothing. And I thought I didn't have any dream. I had no purpose in my life. I was really struggling when I was in college. But one day, as part of my fashion model job, there is a race queen, which is a grid girl. You go to the motors show, and there's completely opposite people, and people who are living with a full throttle. Because I was in college, I didn't have any purpose. I was living very easy. But mechanics and engineers, and if they make a mistake in screwing the bolt, and that's going to cost a life. So I saw the heaviest responsibility, the concentration, and the seriousness. I have felt that, and I came to my mind. And because I was given my life, I have to use my brain and my body, everything. I wanted to live with a full throttle. And so, in 4 years, I have saved 10 million yen with my part-time job. I worked as convenience store Lawson, and also worked in a supermarket, and also I worked as a fashion model. But also, I deliver the gift delivery, and I have saved 10 million Japanese yen. And when I was 25, I was able to go to the racetrack. But all these professionals started their career when they were 15. But I started my career when I was 25. So there's a 10 or maybe 20 years gap for my starting line. And in this year, I was the most outstanding in this category, which is my determination. I had the most determination because as a female, I earned my money to get on the debut. So I had the highest levels determination. Because I wanted to become a professional car racer, when I asked 100 people, 99 people said, no, you're a woman. You don't even have a driver's license. They laughed at me. And true, when I wanted to become a racer, I didn't have no driver's license. And they said, hey, you don't even have driver's license. What are you talking about? You're just talking about it as a dream of a grid girl. Maybe you come and become a lover, and then you get some money to be on the race. But I got my driver's license, and I studied theory and techniques, and I saved my money, and I made all the way, and I'm on the starting line. So I thought, in this 1 year, I'm going to make show the result. So with my strong determination, I won the race in Japan. So I went to the debut in Italy, as you can see in this picture, and all these cars are pushing behind me or beside me, and they're trying to push me off. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? This is Ferrari car. What are you doing to my Ferrari car? I have invested 10 million yen. You can't even buy Ferrari. It's like Ferrari is 20 or 30 million yen. So how did I buy Ferrari? Because it was used and it was crashed and it was burned. It was used and it was on Yahoo. So I went online. I bought unused, broken Ferrari. So because it was such a broken car, and I only have 0.25 million yen. So the remainders of the saving, my bumper was crashed, and what are you going to do with that 100 million yen bumper of Ferrari? So the anger really motivated me. I felt like I was getting to the zone I have never experienced. And this is the first time I've experienced to be in the zone. And thankfully, I was the second in 125 Ferrari, and Michael Schumacher awarded me. I'm like, I met the #1 driver in the world. And I asked, how can I be a #1 driver to Schumacher? And he said, you're probably going to face the things that you do not like. Your weakness is going to come as a border, as a wall. And you have to think about how to get over and use emotion as a driver. You have to get over the wall. And if the time comes when you have to stop the racer, you think about me. And you think about, just whisper, did you do all the things that you could ever do? And if you haven't done all the things you have completed, then if there are things that you still have to do, then you have to adapt to the situation and keep going. So I was determined to go to England. Why did I decide to go to UK? Because this is the original place where the motorsport started. Again, in England, as you can see, Kim Raikkonen, who was right behind me, was pushing in this Formula One. And, I was pushed in Italy race and also a race in the UK. When I was pushed behind in Italy, but this time I was at the bottom in the ranking of, wow, the UK, the level of the competition was very high. I felt very regret, and I felt like I was jumping into the too high of the level. But then when I felt like I was pushing, I was really motivated, and all the blood flow came to my brain, and I felt like, again, I felt an amazing driver. So next year, I joined the French team. Again, the people were pushing. Even I was in my parking. In Japan, you would never see the bumper-to-bumper parking. Japanese would never even stay even 3 centimeters. But in France, this is how they park. They just push bumper-to-bumper. And I was really surprised to see different ideas. And again, when I jump into the team, things are different. Different race, different culture. The value system, it's different. And I had argued with the engineers, and sometimes I had to be isolated. And because I didn't have stamina, I didn't have concentration, I spun and I had crashed. And if I have 2 more crash, and they said, you're going to fire. So I was on the cliff-hanging situation. So I was forced to study in the Sports Science Institute. You have no more thing but to train. So every morning I run 20K and then 100K cycling and 2.5 weightlifting and training, and then swim 100 pitch of the 25 meters. And if not, then I cannot drive the motor cars fast enough. So I did that every day. And then I have learned how to conscientiously getting into the zone. I was able to get into the zone no matter where, because I was able to control my issue with food. Because food, like if I'm in a situation, I'm going to be a champion tomorrow, and I get too excited. I go to bed 10 a.m., but I woke up at 4, meaning that I could only have 2 hours, meaning that my brain and my digestive system and everything's all exhausted. So what do? I have to be on the circuit and the race. I walk and to this chef, and I make a personal request. And please do not ever tell my teammates I only had 2 hours sleep last night. So please cook 200 grams of the steamed red rice with a sticky rice. And 2 hours before the race and 2 hours and 45 minutes before the race, I sprinkle a little bit of salt over the steamed red rice. And then right before the race, my digestive stopped and ended. Why do I have to do that? And I go on the race with doctors and stuff, but the only person that know my digestive system is myself, because the carbohydrates like soba and udon and other thing, the carbohydrate, it's like the rice would last your concentration for the maximus, and also the rice would help you to stay in the concentration. So the food and diet was something to help my concentration. And before the competition, I control my music with my sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system was able to be controlled by music. And again, I also control my blood flow with a muscle. The big muscles, your abdominals and your thighs, but the big chunk of muscles, if you use the big muscles, it will stimulate your blood flows to the brain. Sometimes we get something get to my head. What gets to your head? It's the blood. You know, when you're really upset, you're fully motivated. And if you have enough blood flow into the brain, no matter how exhausted, you're motivated and you're willing to do something. So that's how I control my emotion. Unless when I'm toward the end of the season, when I cannot recover my stamina, what did I do? I control my emotion with aroma or smell. Because nose is the closest organ to your brain, so it directly controls your emotion with the smell. And finally, you're on the starting line and you're in the race. You have to drive with 0.001 second, the decision in a 1,000th second. So your control needs to be so precise enough to the 1,000th second. So you have to shut out the part of your brain, which is brain cortex, which serves as a thought. And if you shut down, then your whole system, your body system can have a super control. And also, when you're in the competition like this, and the drivers that you're a loser, hey, you're a female driver, don't drive like that. And also use that. I leverage that weakness. And because I'm an Asian female driver and people kind of stay away from me, so I leverage that as a technique. And also when I'm driving 300 over speed and in a straight, you can also move your head and neck and have a deep breath. And you're trying to lower your heart rate. And the male driver do not have to do that because the female driver has less stamina. So you have to really control your heart rate and save your energy in the straight before the curbs. So that's how we control your emotion with all parts of your senses. And I was able to have the hang of it. And athletes, you have to control your body from mind. And the body and mind also is being controlled vice versa. And with food and diet is a way to control your mind. And finally, my final dream, I was Ayrton Senna and all the super drivers, England F3, I went to that motors competition. I went to that race, and for all the years of training that I travel around, and I had so much pressure on my body, and more than 200 days per year, my body got so weak. I had fever, and I had all the rashes all around, and my eyes were all yellow, and my body was super exhausted, and I couldn't even I couldn't drive, and I couldn't even have sports. My body was so exhausted. Unfortunately, I had to leave UK, meaning that the doctor couldn't say stop. The doctor couldn't say stop because the doctor knows how determined you are and what responsibility you have and what budget you have behind and coming to England. So I cannot say no, but I say if you continue this, you will have no life next year. So I decided to go back to Japan and quit motor racing. And I had a manager called Mike. And Mike, my manager, as he drove me to the airport, and he said, "Good job, Keiko. You reached your dream. you probably was almost to that dream, and you probably have a next level of the dream. But in one generation, the history is much longer. So I was kind of convinced with the story, and from Heathrow Airport, I took off the airplane, and as the airplane took off, my just tears kept flowing because of the emotion. So I returned home to Japan, and I married, and because I was sick, and I wanted to do something for the people of Japan because I've been helped by the Japanese people, so I wanted to return my favor to the people. So what I did was I started to teach English to the people in my community, about 100 children, because I was trying to treat my illness. And during the evening, I had to go 20 times to the bathroom because I was so sick. But there's a generation gap, and it's full of energy, the children. I felt unlimited potential, and I was revitalized. And after 4 years, I was back on my full health. And after 4 years, again, because when you have a health again, I wanted to do it again after 4 years. So, and then I was determined, I'm going to try. Now, this time, I wanted to go to the top of the World Championship, and I had 4 years of blank, and I couldn't find any sponsor for me. So I kept writing the plan and proposal, and I asked the support and sponsorship for many companies, and I did the training. And when Japan is evening, and also when there's a time difference, I have been talking with my team, and then finally, the world highest level, which is the World Endurance Luman 24 hours. Will the victory goddess of Luman accept me? Unfortunately, the Luman goddess did not accept me because I was not even able to run even one track because the first driver in our team, he got been crashed by the other driver, so I didn't even get to be on the road. I'm like, what was I doing? I had 3 hours, and I did a lot of proposal. I did all this training, negotiation, get sponsored. I collected so many funds, and finally, I couldn't even be on the road. I was surprised. And as you can see, this is the driver that been hit my teammate. I mean, we had prepared a champagne for victory, but okay, so this is a champagne for forgiveness for my teammate. And we had heavy drinks, and I forgave him. And I felt like during the 24 hours Le competition endurance race, and next morning, the cars keep still running because it's a 24-hour endurance race. I was in tears because of the regret. And next year, second year, I went on the second try, and I only had 3 tracks. And I thought, Goddess of Luman is so bitter on me. And right before my turn, my start started to make a squeaky sound, and it was a 300K. It was like bumpy, and so I had to retire because of the bad condition of the car. So second year in the road in the Luman, and my husband said to me, probably the victory of God of Luman is not she, it's he. Maybe the god of Luman is he, and he's jealous of female driver to be on the competition. And that's how my husband consoled me. So I said, I'm going to go on the third time. So again, in the third time, there's 1 million people on the parade, but I'm the only female driver, so they just supported me. And I felt like the AKB40 idol Japanese popular group center, and that's how we get so many support from the people. And now in the Luman 24 hours race, we wanted to do our best, and our passion has been disseminated to everyone. And before, no matter which team I worked in, I had the eyes like Asian female driver. Can she really drive? But I show what I can do, my performance, and I show them that I can do, and also communicate, take time and communicate with them to gain their understanding. And this passion can be amplified to many times, 100 more times, like a fire. And so this is the picture. And I have a blood test before, and I have lack of iron. My cousin, who is a Natchan, she's a registered nutritionist, and she prepared me some full of iron, hijiki. And also my French friend said, oh, she's lack of iron. And then when I sit down and put a bonsai and then rest and make sure that we serve a tea with an iron pot, and so that she will have a full of iron. And when my next round comes, and they gave me iron to my mind, and so they prepare this kabuto, the iron helmet of Japanese style. So all this hospitality has been shown to me. And 330K full speed, and I was able to drive this third Le Mans race. It was a heavy rain, and in this time, and France, which is a top country in the female talent country, so I drive when the pouring rain, sunset, sunrise, all the danger spot I have to cover. Keiko is go for it. In Japan, if it's dangerous, oh, maybe we'll have not female but men. But France is different. The female have 5 senses. They have very full control of their emotions, and they have the same rep time, and even a subtle difference in the temperature, and they can manage that. So the French team really trusted me for this. So again, finally, on the third time, the first time a female, first Asian, I completed the race, and I was the first female to be on the podium for this. And the other important race awaited me. This 16 years of career in the Fuji Speed Japan Grand Prix race. At this time, I was so determined, I was so prepared, but I had young and beautiful, but a rookie supported me. Well, I'm also a pro female talent, but I'm like, why? Why was I so surprised? Because this 16-year my career, this is so important. Why are you putting this female young talent as my support? So again, my seatbelt was not fully buckled, so I'm going to die with this. So the French team is great because the leader just walked towards me. Okay, Catherine, well, you're not strong, so it takes time. It's going to take time for the pit stop. So let's have Michael join. Okay, both sides. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. And it's just buckled with same time, firmly tight. So, okay, Catherine, she's very helpful in other parts. So by having Catherine, a different ideas, different way of efficient way to manage. And so, okay, let's have Catherine as an important teammate. And I was like, wow, this is a great team. And I was also came to understand how poor my understanding about the team management female. Because of Catherine's support, I was able to be on the podium the first time a female. And so this is a moment that I thought, wow, the female talent is great. Now I'm back in Japan, and this year I have thought maybe there's a lot more places for the female to leverage their talent. So I had the audition, and many female talents had been recruited, and from 18 to 60 age range, female have applied, and we have teens to 50s in the different age. They are working as a manager and also the racer. And finally, so you probably wonder, why are you in this dangerous race? The reason what I'm doing is because when I wanted to do something so serious with my full life, whether the result is success or failure, if I tackle with full throttle, it will come with a really good emotion, very regret or very happy. So that very emotion is the driver and fuel for my life, and that fuel can be shared not just by myself but everyone. Like, oh, we all did it, or like we were so nervous, and all that emotion can be shared by everyone involved, and this is priceless. You can't buy this with money, and that's how I feel. And also, I have risked my life in 0.001 second to the race. And what I really wanted to tell everyone today is that if you have something, the border that you created yourself, or because of the conflict of very justice of different ideas, if there's a border, and if we get over those borders, and one by one, and we can go over as a team with everyone. I said, you only live once. Life is one-time offer. We wanted to live to the full throttle. Thank you.